Hello? Hello, everyone. Okay, I'm going to give a pretty short and efficient talk. I'm going to be talking about how we at Joystream are using Bitcoin smart contracts to do micropayments inside of the BitTorrent peer-to-peer file system. Now, in case you don't know, BitTorrent is a roughly 15-year-old peer-to-peer file sharing system, which is radically popular. It's used by over 600 million people every year to move a lot of data. It shares a lot of similarities with Bitcoin in that there's no central institution in charge making sure, this computer stores this or that computer transmits that. And that has a lot of benefits, but one of the problems that you run into is that people in general don't have an incentive to contribute their resources to the overall system. So you get a lot of free riding, you get poor performance. So in general, you'll see that in the BitTorrent system, you cannot do very performant HD video streaming. You will see that a lot of content disappears over time, by and large because people don't have an incentive to contribute their resources to the system. So the solution to that is pretty obvious. You just introduce payments at the protocol level. So that's what we do. So if A wants to download a piece of data from B, A just sends a payment in exchange for the data. And this has a supply side effect where people are going to flock to the network, trying to take advantage of this opportunity, bring the right data to the network, in general making it a better user experience at the consumer end. Now, what you'll see here is that this is sort of a game theoretic problem situation, because who goes first here? If A sends a payment first, why would B send the data? There's no real reason to do that. Or the opposite, if B sends the data, there's no real incentive for A to actually send the payment, right? So there's sort of a prisoner's dilemma here. And there's no real recourse, there isn't a clearinghouse, there's really no one who can come in and say, you misbehaved, you sort of have to make do. So the way you solve this at the protocol level is you turn sort of one big interaction into a bunch of smaller interactions. So rather than paying for the entire file, you pay for a little piece out of the time, then that's verified by the payer, and then they'll send you a little payment. And each party now has an incentive to behave on each round of the exchange, because if you don't behave, you're going to lose out from future gains from trade on the subsequent rounds. So this sort of makes the whole trustless peer-to-peer exchange of data for payment incentive compatible. But what you'll see here is, even for a very small, for a small amount of data, this is going to result in a lot of payments, like thousands of payments for a movie, let's say. And even for the Bitcoin system, which has relatively good performance on these small types of payments, that's too much. If you imagine millions of people doing this at the same time. So that's where the smart contract comes in. So I'm going to sort of give you a, so just in general, the payments we're trying to do are very small. They have to be very quick. They have to be to anyone, anywhere in the world. You can't have chargebacks. So to do this within the Bitcoin system, you use a smart contract called a payment channel. And I'm going to give you sort of a flavor for how that works from a bird's eye perspective. So what you begin by doing is you have the payer, the person who wants the movie or the data file. They'll put money into a sort of mutual account in the blockchain. And this account has the property that neither of them can unilaterally draw from the account. You need the agreement of both of them to draw from. So anyone who's familiar with Bitcoin will recognize that as a multi-sig account. Now, what happens next is, rather than, when you want to make a payment from A to B, rather than actually settling with the blockchain all the time, you send these sort of electronic checks out of bounds. So not within the blockchain system where you have to incur all the costs, you directly just send these electronic checks. And B can verify that, okay, this check gives me the right to redeem a certain amount of money from the blockchain should I ever want to do so. And you just keep doing this thousands of times. And at the end of the day, whenever B wants to settle up, maybe A disappears or something happens, B just broadcasts the best check, so to speak, which ends up in a settlement transaction which sends the right amount to A and B. So this sort of gives you a flavor for how you can do clever smart contracts which allow you to scale outside of the normal scope of the system. So just to summarize, we introduce micropayments into the BitTorrent peer-to-peer system to generate incentives. Those payments have to be very small and very quick. Therefore, we use a Bitcoin smart contract called a payment channel. Thank you.